Okay, happy Black Girl Freedom Week, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. I'm Cidra Sebastien. I'm the manager for Black Girl Freedom Fund at Grant Makers for Girls of Color, and I'm looking forward to learning so much from this conversation with you, Dara. Thank you for sharing your time and your expertise with me and those of us who get to join in today.
Thank you for having me. Peace and blessings, everyone. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. So let's tell folks a little bit about yourself and then jump right in.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Dara Baldwin. I am the Director of National Policy for the Center for Disability Rights, which is a CIL. And those are non-residential centers where people with disabilities go for services and advocacy. My CIL or center is located in Rochester, New York. We have facilities throughout upstate New York, but I live and work in Washington, D.C. I have to say, D.C. statehood, D.C. statehood, D.C. statehood.
Yeah.
Because my boss wanted a D.C. presence. So I work here, live and work in DC proper.
Awesome. Thank you. So, yeah, let's get into it. When people say disability justice, what does that mean and what are the origins?
So thank you for the question. The origins of disability justice came from queer women of color, specifically Mia Mingus
Mm,
and Lydia Brown. And what happened was you've probably heard of disability rights community, and the disability rights community centers white people. There's been many years and many conversations around them and how they handle themselves and how they handle their advocacy. And young people who were coming to DC to do fellowships and internships really did not see people who look like them. As you're having this conversation around Black girls and need to see people who look like them in positions of leadership and doing those things. And that is not happening in Washington, D.C. I'm the only person of color who works outside of the government. There are some Black and brown women who work inside the government here in DC on disability. And so Mia Mingus and Lydia Brown got together and created 10 principles and disability justice centers BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color. And the 10 principles are, the first one is intersectionality.
mhm.
And the 10th one is collective liberation. And
Got it.
you can Google disability justice. You will never see the disability rights community do 1 through 8, but you will see
Mhm.
us who center our work in disability justice on those principles.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that I think for some people, they miss the fact that COVID is still running through these streets. We are still dealing with the impact of this public health crisis. And it's difficult for many people, in particular, Black girls in school from elementary through university, and even more challenging for Black girls with disabilities, right? And so if you can speak a little to that and help us understand what are some of the things that Black girls with disabilities might be experiencing right now as we continue to face the impact of COVID-19?
Thank you. Very good question. I want to say at the front, I am not a person with a disability, but I've been around the community so much that I'm considered family. So when I speak and say they, that is what I mean. Young Black girls are experiencing all the things that you hear on TV triple,
Hmm.
especially those with disabilities. People with disabilities, students with disabilities usually get what's called an IEP, an individual education plan. And in that plan, sometimes their physical disability or their mental health disability entitles them and they need services outside of just being in the classroom, such as they may need speech therapy or occupational therapy or physical therapy, or they actually may need some mental health therapy and counseling. Those are services that through public education, they will receive free and in school where they are.
Right.
And when you're in a pandemic and you can't go to school, that means you're not getting your physical therapy, your art
Mm.
occupation, any of those services. And we all know many Black families cannot afford to have a private session of any of those things. So they're missing out on that. They're missing out on engaging in any kind of interaction with their friends, just like everyone else. Um, Being on Zoom, as you see here, thank you, Gina. We have an ASL interpreter. Many schools are not offering that.
Mm.
So our Black deaf young women, and remember, people who are also who have developmental disabilities use
Right.
sign language. People with mental health diagnosis use sign language. And so that's not being offered to those students. And those young Black disabled girls are missing out on their education. You might be able to catch up. People keep saying they can catch up later. There's one thing we cannot change in this pandemic. Everyone ages.
Right.
You will never, these young girls will never live whatever age they are over again. And
Right.
so that is something that they have to live with as well.
Got it. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's one of those things that folks just don't consider, in part because there's already so much consider, but also because of the ways in which people who are living with disabilities often get cut out of these types of conversations, right? Policies and practices that directly impact how they get to live their lives. And speaking of policies, what is the policy work that you feel needs to be done right now on a national level to create a situation where Black disabled girls are centered, where Black disabled gender expansive young people are centered?
Yes, the number one issue I feel right now, because we're in COVID, is the fact of ending treatment rationing.
Mm.
People have just started hearing about treatment rationing as if it just started a couple of weeks ago in Los Angeles, California, where we're at the peak of the COVID pandemic and started using treatment rationing. But just so you all know, treatment ration started April 1st, 2020. There were people in states around the country who were telling disabled folks, specifically young Black girls, this person may have gotten COVID, may have gotten sick. They are too disabled to even save. Let's just not try to help them out, not save.
Wow.
If you had a breathing machine, as you all know, if you were in New York, people were looking for breathing machines and how to keep people alive. And they were offering to take those from disabled people and saying, well, we can use theirs. They're not really going to need that. We need to end treatment rationing. It is actually against the law. It's against civil and human rights, which were put into the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. So that's there, as well as the Civil Rights Act, as well as the Americans with Disabilities Act. Another thing that is happening now, everyone is discussing vaccine distribution. Let me let you know, disabled folks are not considered to be essential.
Wow.
And we all know that means Black girls are not considered to be essential to receive the vaccine that we just said would help to get people to go back to school, to be safe, right?
Right.
And they're not considered to be that. This whole concept and the reason, this wonderful organization exists and the conversations we're having now is that whenever people start talking about programs, the last group of people who are ever thought of are Black people and Black girls in particular. And then I'll say Indigenous women as well, right? But it's Black young girls and Black disabled young women and non-conforming are never even asked about how they feel or how this is affecting them. You will look at a lot of policy papers and programs around equity and the vaccine.
Mm.
You will not see any of that language discussed. How are we going to reach out to young Black disabled girls?
So it sounds like some of the things that you're saying is, one, there are policies in place. They actually need to get enforced, right? And then two, there are new policies that need to be put in place to make sure that Black disabled girls and Black disabled gender expansive youth are centered, and that those policies and the rollout of those policies are really supporting how they get to live their lives and how they get to grow.
That is correct. You are, and when we use the word equity, which is fair and impartial, right, it needs to include all Black disabled girls and non-conforming, and make sure that not only are they at the center, but we need to include them. They need to, right? We always say when you create policies and laws, it should be from the people who are directly impacted, right? The table is theirs, and I'm a guest. And that's not happening. And we need organizations like this, and we need young Black girls to know that you have support and people who are going to push for those things to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you talk about some good programs that are out there now on a national level that Black disabled girls can learn from or be a part of?
Yes, sure. So I'm excited to say in this summer, when everything was happening around Black Lives Matter, Carrie Gray, Gray, and Justice Shorter, two queer Black women, created Black Disabled Lives Matter and the whole program. And please, you can follow them on Twitter and Facebook, all of those things. And they also created the National Alliance of Multicultural Disabled Advocates. And I will say it's wonderful to see young Black women and girls running that program. And again, you can Google them, NAM as a Mary D, and it will come up, their website. They are doing webinars and having conversations. And as I said, the directly impacted, right, are leading that work.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I'm taking notes. I hope people tuning in are taking notes too. This is so good. And like I said, like this is an opportunity for us to continue to learn together so that we can do better alongside and with Black disabled girls. So you gave a shout out to some great programs. Who would you say are some really good people who are Black disabled advocates that people should be paying attention to? Who are the activists that we need to be paying attention to, centering, and resourcing right now?
Sure. So one is Ashley White. She's out of Wisconsin, a PhD researcher. Vilisa, Vilissa Thompson, who is the founder of the hashtag Disability2White. Allison Donald, who's down in Tennessee doing great work. Anita Cameron from New York, doing excellent work. Angel Miles and Candace Coleman are both from Illinois, Chicago. So those are in Chicago. Claudia Gordon is the first Black deaf woman attorney in the country, and my sorority sister, a Delta. And she is doing excellent work through Sprint right now, but is very active in many different things. Taryn McKenzie Williams, and two more, Rhea Pearson and Kayla Smith. These are all just, phenomenal Black women who are disabled, who are leading the work in making change, and exactly what we were talking about earlier, and making sure that people understand and know, yes, they have a plight, but they are very competent, very strong, and very much involved in their Black community and making sure that Black girls are centered in their work.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for all the shout outs too, and the national shout outs, right? Wisconsin, Illinois, New York, all over. So when folks are like, where? Nationwide, right?
Nationwide.
These are nationwide. Thank you. Yeah, so I also want to thank Gina for holding us down today with the ASL interpretation, and all of the folks who have been joining us throughout the week so far, and who will continue to join us throughout the week to make sure that our programming is accessible to as many people as possible. I also want to make sure that we have like all the good instructions from you. So if you had to say, somebody who's tuning in and they're like, this is the first time I'm even thinking about what experiences people who are disabled are having, let alone Black girls and Black gender expansive young people with disabilities. What would be your suggestion to them about how they get to, one, learn more about the great things that folks in the community is already doing, right? Because to your point with the shout outs you just gave, is not just the things that folks in this community need, but the things that people in this community are already doing, right? To lift their own communities and to do this work on a national level. For people who want to learn more, are there any things coming up or any other spaces they should be paying attention to? And if you can leave us just talking a little bit more about hashtag Black Disabled Lives Matter.
Sure. So I would say, as I said, follow all of these women. And I forgot one because California, Cynthia Overton, who works in the tech field, right? So those of you who wants to do technology, you want to talk to Cynthia. She's doing excellent work there. All of the women I mentioned, if you Google them or look on social media, you will see them doing work. As I said, the National Alliance of Multicultural Disabled Advocates, Carrie Gray's organization, they are doing webinars and conversations throughout this pandemic. Another group is Crip the Vote, which is an organization started by Alice Wong and a couple of other people who, Alice is multicultural, but they do center Black conversations. And it's very good. They talk about really good policy issues and the things that are going on in the disability community and how you can get involved in that. I will say this, everyone, when you want to do work, you need to know what laws protect, right? That group of people. And for Black disabled young girls, it's going to be the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, IDEA. So IDEA will cover a young Black girl in school, elementary and secondary, right, through high school. The ADA will protect a woman from after high school, right, into college and universities. ADA will also protect you in grammar school and high school, but that's the law you're going to use. I tell this to people because you can't advocate for yourself if you don't know the law. And it's not a hard bill to learn. Just go to ada.gov and learn it and read about it. And those of you who want to be allies, right? So if something's happening to your fellow classmate, you can help them and say, I know that's against their civil and human right, what you're doing. And you can join in. Black Disabled Lives Matter is doing a lot of work. They are still out there marching and protesting right along with Black Lives Matter. They are also involved with the Breathe Act. If you all have not heard about the Breathe Act, that Movement for Black Lives has created, which is around ending policing killing us. And so those are things that you can get involved with. But I also just want people to know, if you don't know anything else, there is nothing wrong with having a disability. People look at me and say that can't be true. And I say to them, they said that to my Black grandfather, that there was something wrong with Black folks and they would never learn. And we had a Black man be the president of the United States. And we have a Black woman who is now the vice president of the United States. There's nothing wrong with young Black girls who are disabled. And that's how we have to treat them and work with them and make sure we put at the center of everything we do.
Got it. Thank you so much. And I want to encourage folks to continue to look at and to listen to all of the people that were just shouted out. And for people to tell us what you're up to. So in case you missed it, throughout the week, Black Girl Freedom Fund has been asking for folks to complete our survey, to take action and let us know about individuals and organizations who are already doing amazing work. We especially want to know about organizations that are doing amazing work, that are centering, uplifting, working alongside Black disabled girls and gender expansive young people. So complete the survey. You can go to the link in the bio in IG. You can go to the website, which is the number 4, 1billionforblackgirls.org and complete the survey there. So we really want to encourage people, especially if you're tuning in and you're like, oh, I do that work already. Let us know. If you know somebody who is doing that work in your community, in your state, let us know. We want to know what's happening on the ground and what we get to do to elevate and resource their work. So before we end, I would like for us to talk about our Black girl freedom dreams. What's your Black girl freedom dream?
Mine is to create a new world order, one where people can live safely and also have fun. You know, people always think about, I want all the things of safety that means to that saves Black bodies. But I also want us to have fun. And if this pandemic hasn't taught us that, we need to learn how to enjoy ourselves and enjoy the times that we do have together with family and friends. And I want to see an end to racism and an end to all of the oppressions that are out there. That's my dream. I work every single day to move it forward. And I do believe that my dreams will come true. I have serious longing hope.
Yeah.
And when people tell me that things can't happen, everyone tells me you're always upbeat, Dara, and moving forward. I'm blessed that in this work, my first 2 campaigns came true. The first one was making Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday a national holiday. I was in grammar school and they told us it would never happen. There's a monument of that man on the National Mall, the only Black person on the mall. The second was ending apartheid in South Africa. They told me Nelson Mandela will die in prison, and he became president of South Africa. So when people tell me my dreams and my hopes won't come true, I just laugh and say, that's on you, not on me.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. My Black girl freedom dream, I think it changes from time to time, but the central thread is that Black girls and Black gender expansive youth get to live in a world where they're not told that they have to do more with less, that people are not trying to convince them of that. And in fact, what they get is to live a life of abundance, an abundance of joy, an abundance of love, an abundance in the number of people and institutions who will listen to them, who will show them dignity, who will resource their dreams, and who will create spaces for them to grow, to heal, to learn, and to live fully whatever their individual dreams are. That's my Black girl freedom dream.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I love you, and I can't wait until we can hug each other and not have to wear masks. Until then, I will keep wearing a mask. Yes. I thank you so much for your time in this conversation. I feel you through the screen. I'm sure other people do too. Thank you for dropping all these gems, for your generousness and giving shout outs to people who are doing this dope, amazing, necessary work. Oh my gosh.
They are my sisters, and they know it, and I'm happy. And I can't wait to shout out some new young disabled girls out there who are listening to this and going to join in your dream and the work that's being done here. It's the time. The time has come to include disabled girls in all of our work, and to include disability rights or disability justice issues in our work. Right. You know, there's no better time like the present. I'm so excited for it. And I can't wait to come to New York and see you. I can't wait.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Gina, for holding us down. Take good care, everyone. Happy Black Girl Freedom Week.